Welcome to ThinkTech on OC16, Hawaii's weekly newscast on things that matter to tech and to Hawaii. I'm Jay Fidel.
And I'm Hillary Weinberg.
In our show this time, we'll cover the Grassroot Institute's September Calabash on the homeless in Hawaii.
It was a luncheon panel program at the Pacific Club, and it featured a number of expert speakers on this very difficult subject. So this program was not only an inquiry into solutions for the homeless and affordable housing crisis in Hawaii, but an inquiry into how those solutions can be done in a manner consistent with the principles of a free market.
Hawaii has the highest homelessness rate in the nation, and many economists find that this is often made worse by government policies. Grassroot Institute believes that free market policies can alleviate homelessness and poverty in Hawaii.
So this program is not only an inquiry into solutions for the homeless and affordable housing crisis in Hawaii, but an inquiry into how those solutions can be done in a manner consistent with the principles of a free market.
The moderator for the program was Keli'i Akina, President and CEO of Grassroot Institute of Hawaii. He's also an adjunct faculty member at Hawaii Pacific University. In addition, he's host of our popular Ihana Kako talk show on Mondays from 2 to 3 p.m.
Panelist Lisa Darcy is the Executive Director of the Ho'omoana Foundation, a Maui-based organization dedicated to assisting financially and emotionally disadvantaged individuals in the community. Lisa has had more than 25 years of experience helping people with chronic mental health and homelessness issues.
Panelist Connie Mitchell is Executive Director of the Institute for Human Services, IHS, a 501c3 nonprofit whose mission is to provide relief for the unsheltered. Their vision is a community where everyone has a right to and responsibility for safe, decent, and affordable housing.
Panelist Erin Rutherford is a program supervisor at Catholic Charities Hawaii. She is also on the executive committee for Partners in Care, and she leads community efforts for nationwide homeless initiatives. Erin is spearheading efforts to end veteran homelessness and also works closely with neighbor islands on this issue.
Panelist Victor Geminiani is the Executive Director of the Hawaii Appleseed Center for Law and Economic Justice, a 501c3 law firm created to advocate for low-income individuals and families in Hawaii on civil legal issues.
Panelist Scott Morishige is a state coordinator on homelessness, which includes leading the Hawaii Interagency Council on Homelessness, staffing the governor's leadership team on homelessness, and working on a coordinated statewide plan.
Representative Andria Tupula is a member of the State House of Representatives. She serves as minority floor leader and has been active in homelessness and affordable housing issues in her community.
Finally, panelist Maile Shimabukuo is a member of the State Senate. She has been an attorney in the Waianae branch of the Legalize Society and active in trying to find solutions to the homelessness problem in Hawaii.
It was certainly an expert and blue ribbon panel. Keli'i Akina complimented all of them for the good work they have been doing in the community. At the same time, he pointed out that there were really two approaches to finding a solution to homelessness. One on the ground level, meeting the needs of the disadvantaged for food, shelter, and medical and mental health care. And the other to improve the economy in general for the benefit of all of us, including the disadvantaged.
He outlined 10 ways Grassroot Institute would like to see this done. Increase the supply of land for affordable housing, limit minimum wage and licensing laws, reform the GET tax on food and medicine, cut red tape on development projects, streamline affordable housing rules, allow private sector solutions to the state hospital crisis, improve the Micronesian immigration problem by improving the Micronesian economy, amend the Jones Act, reform the Hawaiian homeland's leasehold system. Finally, make Hawaii a destination for global investment.
Keli'i said he knew not all of the panelists agreed with all of these things, but if we could do just a few of them, life would be better for all of us, especially including the disadvantaged. He asked the panelists for their feedback on his 10 initiatives and for their suggestions in turn.
We have a panel today called Free Market Solutions to Homelessness and Affordable Housing.
And it's a private operating foundation geared towards assisting the transitional unsheltered population. It was started by a businessman who lived adjacent to a beach area and recognized there were many individuals living on the beaches. And he was curious as to why they were living in an exposed manner when there were many social services that were available. They were exposed to the harsh conditions of Mother Nature, subjected to having their things stolen, and many times their safety was compromised. He also noticed they seemed to have mental health and addiction needs. After walking around and talking with many, he was able to see these individuals as people, often vulnerable individuals who were lumped into a criminal and drug category. Hence the formation of Ho'omoana, whose mission is to assist individuals to gain safe housing and living space. Ho'omoana's mission has two components. First, it's to work directly with those who walk through the door. Many of them, you may hear the no wrong door term. That's exactly what Ho'omoana created. We listen to the applicants' needs through the context of being in a state of defense, recognizing there is much trauma in their current way of life. After listening to their needs, we create a web of agency supports, and in the process, we engage up to 40 agencies at any given time, or whatever it takes to create an effective and expeditious solution to what their needs are on a local level.
I think for us as a private nonprofit organization, like Lisa said, it offers us an opportunity to do some things without a lot of the red tape that we have to when we accept government money. But we do accept a lot of government money, and as a result, I'm also involved a lot in providing advocacy and also recommendations from the ground level, because we do have many services that we're providing for homeless and at-risk families and individuals. We actually have 8 different core services. Most people know us for the emergency shelter that we provide, and the meals, of which we provide like over 750 a day. But we also provide, similar to what Lisa described, case management, health services, children's services, and the case manager is specialized to very differing subpopulations among homeless people. We also have housing programs, a whole spectrum of them, from permanent supportive housing to lower subsidies for people, temporary subsidies, and just even a deposit for some people who just need that to move on. So it's really a lot of different types of housing options, as well as employment. We just started a pop-up employment agency, kind of going to different places where we know there are homeless people and helping them to deliver some core employment services, helping them with resumes, interviewing skills, and then also connecting them up with employers who will readily hire them as well.
What we do is we provide rapid rehousing services to homeless veterans and also prevention services to those that are at risk of becoming homeless. We've had this grant for 4 years, and it is funded by the VA. So the VA was able to designate this grant to over 300 nonprofits across the country to give veterans a place to go other than the VA. We also have less restrictive veteran qualifications as well. So those veterans that might not be eligible for VA services are eligible for our SSVF program. Despite the name families in the program, we do help a lot of singles and couples. We do consider a one-person household a veteran family. So we've had this grant for about 4 years. US Vets is also an SSVF provider, and they've had it for about 2 years. It's statewide, so we are serving veterans on every island. This year, our First Lady Michelle Obama took it to, I guess, put homeless veterans as a priority for something she wants to work on. So we have a lot of goals set. By the end of the year, we hope to have put a system in place to effectively address homeless veterans so that when they do enter homelessness, we want to try and make that homelessness episode as short as possible and house them as quickly as possible.
Highest cost of living in the United States. We have the highest cost of shelter in the United States. 78% of those living at or near poverty are spending 50% of their income or more on shelter. Let me repeat that figure. 78% of those living at or near poverty are spending more than 50% of their income on shelter. The national norm, by the way, is suggested to be 30%. That leaves little left, ultimately, to live the life that we all want them to live. Secondly, we pay the lowest wages in the United States when you factor in cost of living. Thirdly, we have the third highest tax rate, charging third. Let me put that in a different way. Our tax system gores the low and moderate income more than any other population. We're the third worst in the United States, mainly because of the regressivity of the GET, which funds half of our entire budget. So the poor are confronted with the lowest wages, the highest cost of living, and one of the highest tax policies in the United States. Just on tax policy alone, by the way, way. Those that are in lower 20% pay about 13 cents out of every dollar for tax. Those that are in the top 20% in terms of income pay about 8% of their income, half of the totality they get for then twice as little as those that are at the lower income schedule. So what do we do about this crisis? Well, there are three components, I think. The first is find more affordable housing that people can ultimately use. When you create more supply, you drive down demand virtually in almost every category. The second is try to figure out ways that we can use our initiatives around tax policy in a way that really affect the poor.
On August 24th, I was appointed by the governor to be the new governor's coordinator on homelessness. Although I'm new to this position, the issue of homelessness and affordable housing is not one that's new to me. I've worked as a social worker in Hawaii for about 14 years, primarily focusing on this issue at many different nonprofit organizations, from the Legal Aid Society of Hawaii, working alongside both Victor and Maile, to working at Helping Hands Hawaii, the Hawaii Community Foundation, and many other local nonprofits. So this is an issue that I've been working at for a long time. And one of the things that's very clear to me is homelessness is a very complex issue that did not develop overnight. This is an issue that developed over several years. And likewise, when we're looking at solutions, this is not an issue where there's any silver bullet or any magic solutions where we're going to be able to eradicate homelessness tomorrow. This is something, just as it took many years to develop, it's going to take many years for us to develop real comprehensive solutions. One of the things in my new role that I've been very impressed with is the government's approach, our state's approach to how we tackle this issue. And we've really looked at three main strategies to be able to address homelessness in Hawaii. And the three elements that are part of our approach are coordination, data, and really looking at what's worked in other communities across the country. So many of you have heard about the governor's leadership team on homelessness, which is something that's fairly new and was formed immediately prior to me being appointed. I think the governor's leadership team on homelessness is a good example of the coordinated approach that our governor, our state, and our other elected officials are really...
I am an artist. I am a music teacher. I'm a voice teacher and choir teacher, so I do things very collaboratively because I believe that the outcome can be so much more synergistic when you do things together as a group as opposed to individuals doing separate things and hoping to get a greater outcome. And so I would say that in any problem that we're trying to solve across the state, we need to think about not only the things that we need to do to solve the problem, but the philosophy whereby you're going to think about solving that problem. Because the philosophy that you think in is what dictates policy. The philosophy of whether or not a free market works or doesn't work, whether or not this is a community problem that we all need to jump into or a government problem, all of these different philosophies are what shape it. And as I'm finishing my PhD at UH Manoa, I kind of think in that paradigm all the time. The scientific process is that way for a reason. It works. After all these years, they found that it works because you do things a certain way. You do your research, you do your review of literature, everything that's been happening in the past, just as Scott shared, as well as you design, right? So those two things, I think, are really integral. And as we work geographically, I think that there's certain things that can come out that are different than in other communities. For example, the area that I represent. It starts in Maile, it ends in Ewa. So I have a lot of homeless shelters. I have Kalailoa Barbers Point, so I have Kealaho, Onelua, I have an emergency, a temporary there. We do have some across in Nanakuli and Maile. But the idea is as I work within this area and I really work with businesses, schools, everyone, I'm able to see what resources are out there and then basically collaboratively put these resources together. Let me give you an example. So I go to Morisco, which is a shipping company in my area in Kalailoa. But how does Morisco play into this? Well, Morisco is the one that helps the U.S. Vets Homeless Shelter to give these guys jobs.
A measure that I tried to get through last year was, and Reverend Bob Nakata was a big help with that and others in this room, was to legalize trailer parks. Here in Hawaii, we don't have trailer parks, they're not legal. And it's a solution that the Leeward Housing Coalition has been trying to push this quite some time, and it just always fails. And I think if you really look at, especially places like Waianae, if you meet a lot of the chronic homeless, there are a lot of Native Hawaiians, a lot that like to live outdoors. They want to return to a lot of the lifestyle that they had in the past. They have dogs. A lot of them have drug issues. A lot of them are felons. All these issues are what makes them not want to go to the shelters. And I think a trailer park is kind of the most close thing you could imagine to what they're doing now. And I think this is a perfect group to talk about this with, because one of the reasons the bill didn't make it last year is that the bill had combined both private sector and public sector and talked about using public lands and public resources, and that's where the bill ran into trouble. People liked the concept, but when it came to where's the money going to come from, what land we're going to use. So next year I'm going to try the bill again, but just have it focus on private land and private developers. Because I think this really could be a win-win. You know, a lot of investors out there that might want to help and also make a living. This is a really easy way to do. You know, there's a low infrastructure cost, low startup cost, and you can really do well in it. You know I've heard a story on the radio about people in the mainland investing in these trailer parks and revitalizing them and making it a profitable venture and also something that people have pride and want to live at.
Kudos to the panelists and their organizations, and so many other organizations that form the social safety net in Hawaii. Kudos to Grassroot Institute for organizing this program and to those who participated in the discussion.
Hopefully, dispositive action will emerge from discussions like this. Homelessness is a huge threat to the welfare of Hawaii, and we don't have a moment to waste. As the homeless are suffering, we as a community are suffering too, whether we realize it or not. For their benefit and ours, we must repatriate them to productive life as soon as possible, not only for now, but for the years and generations to come.
We need to find solutions that will stem the tide. As a state with the highest rate of homelessness, we must be a leader in finding solutions with visible and prompt results. After all, we are the state of aloha. We care about our neighbors, don't we?
This problem undermines our society in every way. It shames, squanders, and isolates our human capital and our humanity. It imposes incalculable burdens on our future. The longer they stay out there, the greater the damage. Every sunrise, every sunset makes it worse.
This is more than a political football. It's a profound obligation for those responsible for managing our communities. Kicking the can down the road even for one day is intolerable. We must implement a working plan to see it through. This is not an option, it's a social emergency. And it's survival, theirs and ours. And now let's take a look at our ThinkTech calendar of events going forward.
ThinkTech broadcasts its talk shows live on the internet from noon to 5 p.m. on weekday afternoons. And then we rebroadcast our earliest shows all night long. If you missed a show or you want to replay or share any show, they're all archived on demand on YouTube.
Visit thinktechhawaii.com for our weekly calendar and our live stream and YouTube links, or better yet, sign on to our email list and get the daily docket of our upcoming shows.
ThinkTech has a great new green screen studio at Pioneer Plaza. We invite you to come down, see our studio, and be part of our live audience. Contact me, Jay, at thinktechhawaii.com. Be a part of our civic engagement on ThinkTech.
Go ahead, give us a thumbs up on YouTube, or send us a tweet at ThinkTechHI. We want to know what you're thinking and how you feel about current issues and events affecting Hawaii. We want you to stay in touch with us, and we want to stay in touch with you. Let's think together.
On Tuesday, October 27th, ThinkTech will join with the Anthology Marketing Group to present a program called Hawaii, the State of the Arts, at the Anthology Theater in Bishop Square.
The program will cover the status and prospects of the arts in Hawaii, music, opera, dance, fine arts, and the performing arts, and what we can do to make them stronger and more sustainable.
Join us and raise your awareness about the critical changes taking place in Hawaii. Be part of the conversation and sign up to attend on thinktechhawaii.com.
And now, here's this week's ThinkTech commentary.
I'm Jay Fidel, and this is the ThinkTech commentary. Dean, Professor, Dr. Ed C. Cadman died this week. He had left Hawaii about 5 years ago to be with his family in Oregon as he declined from neurodegenerative disease. Here was a man that came to Hawaii from Yale in the 1990s and rendered enormous value to our state. He built the medical school in Kaka'ako. I wonder what the difference would be had he not come or had he not left. Here was a man with impeccable credentials and completely modest. He was a good listener, a kind man, and a soft but relentless advocate, which is very effective in Hawaii. He built the medical school. Not everybody can do that. Sure, he couldn't have done it without Ben Caetano and others, but it was him at the front. He made it happen. I met him while I was doing the ThinkTech radio show on Hawaii Public Radio. He was generous with his time for us and came down regularly to talk about the medical school, of course, but also to talk about Kaka'ako. He brought UH to Kaka'ako. He was comfortable and consistent on Bishop Street and in Manoa and in Kaka'ako. He understood all these places and he understood Hawaii. He had a vision for the medical school and attracted a number of world-class researchers to start it out right. These included Dwayne Gubler from the NIH, a world-class researcher in tropical infectious diseases, Linda Chang and Thomas Ernst from Brookhaven in MRI brain research, and others too. They were the famous Cadman recruits, all brilliant, the cornerstones of his administration of the medical school. Ed Cadman had a dream for Hawaii. As he stood one day on the 10th floor in the offices of the Hawaii Community Development Authority in 677 Ala Moana, looking out over Kaka'ako Makai, he envisioned a campus of big pharma research surrounding the medical school he was to build there. It was a grand dream, but it was to be derailed by Linda Lingle's Alexander and Baldwin condo plan for Kaka'ako. When the smoke cleared after that plan died, there was no energy left for the big pharma campus, and Makai laid fallow, a political target from then until now. After he had stepped down as dean of JABSOM, but before he left teaching there, ThinkTech organized a program at JABSOM called Finding Our Future in Kaka'ako to explore all the high-tech research possibilities that were then under consideration. We gave the proceeds of the program a handsome $22,000 to seed the endowment of a chair in Cadman's name. Hopefully now the endowment of that chair will see some real money. Those were the good old days in Kaka'ako. Since then, none of the tech projects were built on Makai except the Cancer Research Center, which was built at a much more modest scale compared to the Cancer Research Center that was contemplated earlier. In many ways, tumbleweed and the homeless now populate the streets of Kaka'ako Makai. How different would it be had the campus been built when Cadman wanted it to be built? Just this week, and here's the irony, the week that Cadman died in Corvallis, the Star Advertiser reported a government project for a large innovation center in Kaka'ako Makai. Finally, in the week of his death, there is a re-emergence of the dream. Hopefully, this time, it will really get built. If only he were here to see it and participate in making it happen. When I think of leadership in Hawaii, I think of Edwin C. Cadman, a quiet man, but compelling, the kind of man you would follow anywhere, wherever he led, with strength and vision and a great love for Hawaii. It is so tragic that he was snatched from the arms of his beloved medical school before he could bring his dream to reality. Given his John Burns-like quality of personal leadership, I think that he would have taken it and Kaka'ako and our Hawaii to dizzying heights had he not succumbed to what took him from us this week. Farewell and aloha, Ed Cadman. We've missed you for some time, and hearing of your death makes us miss you all the more. Let no one forget what you did for the state and what you dreamed for our future. You will be engraved forever in our memories of Kaka'ako and Hawaii. I'm Jay Fidel.
We'll be right back to wrap up this week's edition of ThinkTech. But first, we want to thank our underwriters.
Okay, Hillary, that wraps up this week's edition of ThinkTech. Remember, you can watch ThinkTech on OC16 several times every week. Can't get enough of it, just like Duke Oishi does. For additional times, check out OC16.tv.
For lots more ThinkTech videos and for underwriting and sponsorship opportunities on ThinkTech on OC16, visit thinktechhawaii.com. Be a guest or a volunteer, a producer or an intern, and help us reach and have an impact on Hawaii.
Thanks so much for being part of our ThinkTech Ohana and for supporting our open discussion of tech, energy, diversification, and globalism in Hawaii. You can watch this show throughout the week and tune in next Sunday evening for our next important weekly episode. I'm Jay Fidel.
And I'm Hillary Weinberg. Aloha, everyone.